Tonight, the Pioneer Burdekin pumped hydro's hidden costs.
A teenager in hospital after being hit by a car.
Forgan Bridge closed, causing commuter chaos.
And a new wedding venue overlooking the Coral Sea.
This is 7 News with Joanne, Desmond and Nathan Spurling.
Good evening, thanks for joining us.
Good evening.
A report requested by the new state government has exposed the hidden costs of the now scrapped Pioneer Burdekin pumped hydro project. The Premier travelled to Yangala to personally apologise to residents about how it was handled and offered those who sold their properties the chance to buy them back.
Welcomed with a hug and a standing ovation. Premier David Crisafulli meeting face-to-face with Yangala residents to apologise.
I wanted to say sorry. I wanted to say sorry to them on behalf of the government and to let them know that they do have a future. It's a beautiful, beautiful part of the world.
It's been an emotional couple of years for a community that never agreed to a pumped hydro being built in its backyard. Last week, the new Premier followed through with his election promise, announcing the Pioneer Burdekin project will never go ahead.
It's been a huge boost to morale to have it scrapped.
Huge elation. Yeah, it was very exciting.
Within 7 days, the Premier is on the ground talking to the people, face to face, and that's an amazing thing. People really respect that, and that shows true leadership.
Today, the Deputy Premier exposed a detailed analytical report the LNP government requested 48 hours after coming into office. In that report, it revealed the project was not recommended and not feasible, with prediction costs of more than $36.7 billion.
It's clear that Stephen Miles and Cameron Dick should have, could have, and they knew the cost of this project. And they deliberately hid it from Queenslanders to try and sneak through the election campaign, knowing this report was there.
In April, Queensland Hydro purchased from 57 landholders. They'll now be able to buy their piece of paradise back.
It's too nice to let go. That's the main thing, yeah.
Rebecca Jensen, 7 News.
Police are investigating after a 17-year-old girl was struck by a car on Homebush Road. It's alleged another teenager was driving the car, and when she pulled over after the crash, a group of people assaulted her 53-year-old passenger. Bryn Wakefield has more.
The teenage girl is in serious but stable condition at Mackay Base Hospital, recovering from significant head and pelvic injuries. Neighbours have told 7 News the incident occurred during a Halloween party on Homebush Road on Saturday night. Police believe a red Mazda 3 was travelling through the area around 9:45 p.m. when it struck the 17-year-old girl on the roadway. The 16-year-old learner driver continued a short distance before she was allegedly approached by a group of people. It's alleged the group assaulted a 53-year-old male passenger, causing head wounds. Emergency crews arrived a short time later to break up the brawl and to transport the man to hospital. A 56-year-old female and 12-year-old boy were also in the car but were not injured. Authorities say prior to the incident, a white utility was spotted driving dangerously along Homebush Road, which may have impacted driving conditions. Locals believe the driver had been doing burnouts. No arrests or charges have been made, with police still investigating the circumstances.
All right, thanks for that, Bryn. All the residents driving into the CBD were told to turn around this morning due to a police incident on Forgan Bridge. It forced Harbour Road to close around 7 a.m, with multiple officers responding. Police couldn't comment on the nature of the incident, but warned motorists to avoid the area, which caused traffic delays on surrounding roads. Multiple police cars were used as barricades while the situation was brought under control. The bridge was reopened to motorists at 10 a.m. And if you or anyone you know needs support, help is available. You can call Lifeline on 13 11 14.
Well, now we have more from regional Queensland being the controversial hot topic of the LNP's first cabinet meeting. Senior ministers of the newly minted Crisafulli government sat down in Brisbane today, revealing hit-out cost blowouts, including to the hydro project and other big projects.
They're freshly sworn in and ready to put months of promises into action.
This body has some important work to do over the next 4 years to give Queenslanders the fresh start they overwhelmingly voted for.
Youth crime and health and housing and cost of living, and that remains our focus.
Right up until the regions stole the show.
We can reveal today, through the detailed analytical report, that the actual cost, and with Treasury forecast, the actual costs of Labor's hydro hoax is over $36 billion.
That totals $15,653 per Queensland household.
Vowing to put forward a new roadmap of smaller pumped hydro stations spread out across Queensland, while the Deputy Premier revealed what he called the real reason behind delays to Kiwana's outdoor stadium ahead of an Olympic review.
And we're advised that the reason they didn't issue the tenders before the caretaker kicked in was because that one project is now tens of millions of dollars already over budget.
While 15 netball courts in Rockhampton got the go-ahead.
That's what Legacy is all about.
Within their first 100 days, they've also vowed to boost staffing at rural maternity services and reset youth behaviour in the regions.
Every time I went to rural and regional Queensland, they would be saying, this is all about Brisbane. It can't be. It's got to be about all of Queensland.
Danny Sharp, 7 News.
Meantime, there are calls for the Albanese government's student debt plan to go further and tackle the things making education expensive. If re-elected, the Labor government will knock 20% off all student debts, but the cost of courses will stay the same.
Getting a good education is becoming more difficult. Daniel Gillette is studying his second degree and has about $20,000 in student debt.
It means that my choices are more limited. It means that I need to stay in employment that's going to keep me not having enough time to study and those sorts of things.
But he could benefit from an Albanese government promise of a 20% reduction in student debts. The average Australian debt of $27,600 would get just over $5,500 knocked off. And it's part of a $500 million federal package, a carrot for next year's election.
Pretending that they can make it better for me and weaponising my debt in order to try and win my vote, that just doesn't wash with me at all.
The National Union of Students believes it doesn't address the root cause of expensive education. Indexation continues to rise and degrees in arts and humanities shot up in price only a few years ago.
I'm certainly not going to object to it. I'll personally very happy to see 20% of my HECS debt go away. What we need is meaningful change, not something that looks nice and will draw people in.
Advocacy groups also say students should be given greater priority during this cost of living crisis, with those pressures placing huge strain on the younger demographic.
We know the dropout rates from universities are the highest they've been since records began in 2005 at the start of this year.
Rex Quayle, 7 News.
A celebrity-style mansion overlooking the Coral Sea has been approved by Whitsunday Regional Council as a new wedding destination. The multi-million-dollar property at Mandalay is on a private peninsula with its own beach, marina and helipad. Special events, birthday parties and weddings of up to 80 guests and 10 staff members will be allowed. The venue, which is a short 10-minute flight from Hamilton Island, is expected to attract tourism dollars from high-paying customers.
It's a stunning property, isn't it?
My 50th is in a few years. That would be a lovely present.
Right,
party over there, Joanne?
We'll talk to you.
We'll talk in the... Yeah, exactly.
Well, ahead tonight, the Coalition's plan to end supermarket gouging.
And the rundown playground's getting a makeover ahead of summer.
Mackay turns to 7 News to keep up to date on local issues. And we want you to be part of it. If there's something happening in your street, your suburb, we want to know about it. Send us a message or drop us an email.
And thanks for joining us here on 7. The Coalition has announced a bold plan to end the supermarket duopoly with a strict and costly code of conduct. The bill is set to benefit families and farmers doing it tough, even though the Prime Minister claims the cost of living crunch is almost over.
Bringing Woolies and Coles into line.
We're saying it's a flat $2 million infringement notice if the ACCC sees there's a breach of that code.
The Coalition has proposed a new code of conduct to put an end to supermarket price gouging.
This is about making sure there's a big deterrent, a big stick at one end of it, to make sure that the supermarkets do the right thing.
It would have 3 main parts: a discreet supermarket commissioner,
one that's designated to allow farmers to come forward in a confidential manner to make complaints,
in addition to hefty penalties and leaving decisions in the hands of the ACCC and the courts not politicians. The code targets cost of living, which Labor says is already under control.
We've got work with the supermarkets to bring down supermarket prices.
It comes after the ACCC announced legal proceedings against Woolies and Coles for misleading customers through discount pricing. The Nationals say Labor's code of conduct won't kick in for another 6 months.
The cost of living crisis is today.
You keep talking about affordability. Have you done anything on fuel? Have you done anything on food?
Tom Duffy, 7 News.
Mackay Coast Guard is reminding boaties to check their bungs before heading out on the water. Members of the public frantically called for help yesterday at Mackay Marina after witnessing a boat filled with water with 2 men on board. One man clung to the vessel while the other drifted out to sea in his life jacket at about 4 p.m. The Coast Guard managed to rescue both men and recovered the boat, which was new and not fitted with a bung.
Families are being given the opportunity to take part in redesigning old and tired playgrounds. Mackay Regional Council has been prioritising upgrades, closing 2 for safety improvements.
It's a costly process to improve Mackay's parks.
So as that equipment ages, we're just looking at the areas progressively where we can upgrade.
Oralee's Muller Park playground has been closed to make way for a major renewal.
It's about 25 years old, does not meet the safety standards today. We're going to shut that down and have a consultation now tonight about what a new playground should look like.
Families who missed tonight's discussion can share their ideas for the project on Council's website.
Hopefully it'll be a bigger area and much more modern area, of course, too.
Annie Wood Park in Mount Pleasant also closed today for a slide replacement. But some locals feel council should be doing more to improve outdoor activities across different age groups.
Oh, look, lots of things, anything. There's not enough for kids to do around Mackay.
Mayor Greg Williamson says new and improved pools could keep the older kids busy. Council last week endorsed a review into Serena's aquatic services.
10, 11, 12-year-olds, what do they have to play? And those are the sorts of aquatic facilities that we're looking at down the track.
Bryn Wakefield, 7 News.
Yeah, fantastic. Time now for all the day's sport. Nate, that's Australia against Tonga in the footy final.
Yeah, Joe, we'll have another Cowboys collision taking place, and Kangaroos fans, they'll be hoping Jason Taumalolo doesn't repeat his performance from the weekend. And did a Queenslanders' performance at the Great Barrier Reef Arena just lock in an Aussie Test debut?
Stream 7 News anywhere, anytime, live and on demand on 7plus. And with 7news.com.au, you'll know the news now.
And welcome back for all of tonight's sport. Queenslander Nathan McSweeney has taken a big step towards filling the vacant Test opener spot for Australia later this month in Perth for their series opener against India. It follows his match-winning knock yesterday at the Great Barrier Reef Arena, where his Aussie A side beat India A.
The Aussies resume the final day's play, needing just under 100 runs to win, and with 7 wickets in hand, enter Nathan McSweeney.
Harry Park was excellent. It's always nice to beat such a strong side. At one stage we thought we were chasing a lot more, so we did a fantastic job to get the win.
The Queenslander produced a match-winning partnership with Beau Webster, as both went on to score unbeaten half-centuries.
Webster drives, and that is his 50. He's been doing it in green for Tasmania. He's doing it in green and gold here.
From 40 overs to 80 was probably the best time to bat, and we were able to spend some time out there. And it's just making sure that we can get through the spells that India bowled at us, and they bowled pretty well.
Webster finished on 61, while McSweeney was unbeaten on 88.
Back and dispatched over the top into the gap for 4, and Australia A with a commanding 7-wicket win.
The result puts McSweeney in the box seat to be selected for the first Test against India later this month in Perth, as Aussie selectors search for a replacement for the retired David Warner.
I've got to continue to try and punch out runs, and hopefully it goes my way. If not, I'll continue to work hard, and as I said earlier, hopefully it comes at some stage.
He'll get another chance this week in Melbourne, when the second game between Australia A and India A starts on Thursday. Connor Marcellus, 7 News.
Ruben Cotter has refrained from provoking Cowboys teammate Jason Taumalolo ahead of this weekend's Pacific Championship final, where Tonga will face Australia after their thrilling win over New Zealand. Cotter believes Big JT is a player the Kangaroos cannot afford to let run riot.
Ruben Cotter was all smiles at training this morning, but there'll be no banter between himself and Tongan cowboy Jason Taumalolo in the lead-up to the final. His club teammate claimed the Aussie aura no longer exists ahead of the Pacific Championships opener.
Leave it to the 80 minutes on the weekend.
Praising rather than provoking Big Jace, a safer bet before facing off.
Yeah, well, he's tough to handle. He's a big boy and he's got good feet as well. So, we saw that in the first game against him. He played pretty well and he played extremely well on the weekend as well.
Taumalolo turned in a vintage performance against the Kiwis. The lock took 20 runs for just shy of 200 metres. 100 of them were post-contact.
We'll expect nothing less this weekend. It'll be a tough game and it'll be one through the middle, I reckon.
Last year's champions New Zealand will now play PNG following back-to-back defeats. The Kumals beat the Cook Islands 42-20 in Port Moresby. North Queensland winger Robert Derby started the host's second half scoring spree.
Floated over the top. Derby scores in the corner. What a start to this second half for Papua New Guinea.
Meanwhile, cowboy Jeremiah Nene bagged a consolation try for Samoa against England in the second international of a two-test battle between the nations.
Luai. Oh, clever kick. Good chase from Nene. Great try, Samoa.
The hosts won 34-16 to clean sweep the series. Nathan Ferguson, 7 News.
Well, if you can't be at Flemington tomorrow, then the next best place for some Melbourne Cup fun is at the Mackay Turf Club. And here now with his best bets, it's our resident expert, Russell Leonard.
Yeah, that's right, Spurling. Orally racing tomorrow for the Mackay Turf Club. It's Melbourne Cup Day. Locally 5 races set down for decision. The track's in great order. Kick things off at 12:30. Winners are what we need. I think there's 3 good gambles, so let's profile my best bets for tomorrow's racing. Early mail specials, and we kick them in race number 2. Hero Like Horse for Ayalani. Well, she's flying, this girl. She was a winner in Bowen 2 starts ago. I thought her last start effort at Cluden in Townsville was good. I do think she'll return to the winner's stall here, and Gabriel Simmons does the riding for a master Tom Button with Ayalani. Then to the closer, race 5. Hero Like Horse 2 Specker Silver. Well, she's won 2 of her past 4. She comes up a very good third last start here in Mackay. I do think she'll be winning here, and Satherley does the riding for the Crouch Yard with Specker Silver. Then to the big one, race 7 at Flemington, the Melbourne Cup. Hero Like Buckaroo. Thought his second in the Caulfield Cup was a ripper. I do think he'll go one better in the Melbourne Cup. Joe Mamera does the riding for the Chris Wallace stable with Buckaroo. Well, there they are, punters. But good things are racing in the Sugar City. Awalani race 2 will close the day off with Specker Silver in the last race 5. I like Buckaroo in the Melbourne Cup. Bet responsibly. Good luck, good punting, and make your bets winning ones tomorrow.
Good on you, Russell. One of the biggest days on the calendar tomorrow. Enjoy it. Actually, I think I've got a bit of a sore throat coming on, Joe, so you'll be okay tomorrow to go alone? Yeah?
Not here. We'll know what's going on.
Enjoy, everyone.
All right, well, Livio joins us after the break with all the weather details for Melbourne Cup Day.
G'day, Livio, Regano with tonight's weather. Full steam into the final month of spring, and it sure is going to be a warm week ahead. Heatwave conditions will gradually creep in from the west, reaching a climax on Friday, and there's a small but ever-present risk of thunderstorms. Here's a sample of today's local temperatures. In Mackay, we reached a top of 30 degrees after a low this morning of 18. Proserpine got to 31 and Claremont 36. To the satellite loop, there's not much cloud to talk of affecting at least the populated parts of Queensland, but certainly through the Channel Country you can see this band of storms just encroaching onto Queensland. It's linked to a trough, and over the next day or two it will start spreading east. It's already affecting the Darling Downs, where thunderstorms, especially around the Granite Belt, have been popping up this afternoon. Better chance tomorrow. Let's look at today's chart. There's the trough spread through the Channel Country. Ahead of it you can see the trajectory of the air. It's bringing all this equatorial air down, so it's very, very warm. 40s out over Western Queensland, sometimes up to 42, 43. Tomorrow's chart, that trough moves a little bit closer into southeast Queensland, making for a better chance of potentially severe thunderstorms in the southeast, but just continuing warm in the tropics. Now the latest from BOM. The boating forecast for Mackay waters, east and northeast winds 10 to 15 knots for the next 2 days, and then straight northeasterly 10 to 15 on Thursday. Seas under a metre. Tomorrow's first low tide is very early. So early in fact that you might sleep through it, in which case the next tide will be a lunchtime high or early afternoon. Central Coast and Whitsundays, a sunny day with a high fire danger. Mackay 19 to 31 degrees. Bowen also 31 and Proserpine 32. Central Highlands and Coalfields, thunderstorms on the Carnarvon Ranges in the afternoon, a high fire danger. Emerald at 37 degrees, Claremont 38, Moranbah 37. Looking ahead for Mackay, being on the coast keeps us protected from temperature extremes thanks to a reliable sea breeze. Nonetheless, it'll stay warmer than average with almost no chance of rain. This week's question, why do troughs always seem to form over Western Queensland? On a typical day, the prevailing southeast winds build up pressure against the Great Dividing Range, creating a warp in the isobars known as the coastal ridge. You see it all the time on the daily weather chart. The pressure naturally drops on the sheltered side of the range, creating the opposite effect, a kind of trench in the isobar pattern called the inland trough, which we mark as a dotted line. The trough is most noticeable in summer when it gets really hot and the buoyancy of the air creates even lower pressure, making a further warp in the isobars. Have a nice evening. Now it's back to the team.
Great, thanks for that, Livio. And that's all from us for this Monday. Thanks very much for your company.
And just a reminder, if you'd like to see anything from our news again, you can do that over on 7plus or download the 7 News app. So from everyone here, enjoy the rest of your Monday night. Good night.
Good night.